Hi, I'm Angela and this is Parisienne Farmgirl. Welcome to my channel. This is Potager Week 10. I must confess, I've been remiss. I have not filmed a proper potager and cottage garden tour, and now it's the end of July and we have had thunderstorm after thunderstorm after thunderstorm, and the garden is looking a little bit soggy. So I'm going to play catch up and take you around and give you a walking tour and show you the cottage gardens and the potager. And what I'd like to do is share with you some of the successes of my gardening season and some of the failures, because there have been some fails. This year I committed to myself that I would be my best gardener, and this started back in January, where I got out my gardening journal and started reviewing my notes. It then continued to February, where I began to order seeds and get things going. I'm committed to not procrastinate, which is very easy for me to do, to plan my time wisely, which is difficult with 6 children. All in all, I'm thrilled. We have some major things to celebrate and some serious fails and some pretty cute ducklings. So will you take a walk with me in the garden? And I'd love to show you everything right now, the end of July. Where I'm standing right now is one of my favorite parts of the garden. We've walked through the arbor where Joel and I got married, we've passed the espaliered apple trees, and now we're standing on an entrance to the small pond. If you remember from earlier this season in Potager, the pond was just this really sad circle in the middle of the garden. It was always intended to be a pond, but we held off on doing it until Junior got a little bit older and the risk for drowning was reduced. Now we have a giant goldfish and some very happy pond flowers and plant life. But this is my favorite area here. There are 4 arches in my garden, 4 main arches in the center of the garden, and each is planted with a David Austin Strawberry Hill rose on either side and some sort of vine in the middle to sort of fill the gap. So this year I have gourds growing that I'll be able to enjoy in the fall, and some sweet autumn clematis, which will fill in quite nicely as the roses take their time doing what they're going to do. But someday these 4 arches will be beautiful hot pink entryways into all different points of the garden. An area of the garden that experienced a huge change this year are the 4 squares around the pond. So of course I didn't have the pond last year, we dug that this spring. And last year I had vegetables in circles going all the way around. So it looked really cool from the sky, but it got pretty sloppy. I had some Lovelies bleeding mixed in with kale, and it was just a little bit too much. So this year I really edited the space, and I brought in 76 lavender plants that I divided between the 4 beds. I did leave the cattle panel up because I knew I was going to need some extra support. I've got some cucumber tripods here. You can see the rain, and all the weight of the rain has had its way with them. This is my favorite part of this space. I've got the zucchini planted here, the cucumbers, I've got some sweet pea, but this little corner right here, and I've got one on the opposing side as well, I love. I have sunflowers planted here. And they're a beautiful burgundy color, which I think will be gorgeous with the lavender. There's going to be a tomato adding that red, climbing up the back of the cattle panel here. But really with this sunflower, it's the foliage that's my favorite. It's green with this beautiful deep purple that I think is going to look absolutely beautiful with the lavender. "76 phenomenal lavender plants." That's the variety. It's called Phenomenal, and I have to tell you, so far it is. I have harvested so much lavender. I went around the other day and harvested some chamomile, calendula, and lavender and roses to make some beauty products for the winter. And this lavender just keeps giving. It just keeps sending off new shoots and blooming. So I'm very pleased, and I'm hoping that next year at this time, each of these 4 squares is just a sea of purple with the Strawberry Hill roses, and I think I for sure will plant those sunflowers in the corner again too. While the lavender has been a success, and I think will continue to be a success until the snow flies, quite possibly, these gourd vines, maybe not so much. I've never planted this particular variety before. You can see them in here. They are very aggressive, let's put it that way. This is 1 seed on this trellis, and I planted them on my favorite wooden teepees that are in the front beds with the lavender, which is really sad because underneath the teepee I had planted a Wedgwood rose, which is not getting the time of day. No sunlight, the poor thing. So next year it's going to have its moment in the spotlight, and for now it looks like I will have plenty of gourds to decorate for fall. This is another area where I have this gourd planted, and it's gone absolutely crazy. I am forever pulling the tendrils off of my lemon trees. So these are my lemon trees that I ordered from fastgrowingtrees.com. They're doing wonderfully. The trick is to keep them fertilized and keep them well watered, and I will bring them into the greenhouse for the winter. They're just starting to turn from a dark green. I can see the yellow coming through, which is very exciting. And right here are some little guys. We just had another storm move through. Filming this video has been quite a challenge. We've had to stop and start about 8 times. But let's go over and I'll show you the tomatoes, and that we've already harvested some of the carrots already. This is our tomato patch this year, and I went ahead and put landscape fabric down and then straw on top of that just to keep it nice and tidy. Gathered some twigs. They're a little jiggly, but I went ahead and pounded some rebar in and tied that onto the twigs. And the tomatoes are tied up. We typically don't get a tomato here, a ripe tomato that is, until about August. So I think I see the first one starting to turn color over there, so that's very exciting. Next week is August, so that will be perfectly fitting. Behind the camera, I have 2 beds of zinnia, and that's my cutting garden. I love to bring flowers inside, put them in arrangements all over the house. These are some of my favorite colors, seeds that I have saved over the years. The raised beds in the back have been a total win for us, bringing us so much more harvest than we were able to experience last year. They've created delineation and a cleanness to the space. We've had much better soil management. And of course, the pond is just something to be celebrated. I wanted this pond in the center so bad, and it brings us so much enjoyment. The espaliered apple trees are a success this year. The onions are a success this year. That wild thyme growing in the corner of the onions makes me so happy. And all the little nooks and crannies, the parts of the garden that give it that old world flair, from the coral fossil to the grapevines underplanted with chamomile. But now we do have to talk about the failures as well. And one of the biggest fails of the year was the big pond. And here it is in all its leaky glory. But you have to take your lemons and turn them into lemonade. And so I decided to use this space as a giant playpen for the ducklings that I am raising to harvest here on the farm this fall. They are so sweet and so precious, and seeing them around the garden has brought so much pleasure to the family that even though the pond is a fail and I will have to hire professionals to fix what I've started, I'm going to call it a win, because for now it's working for us and for them. This year my cottage garden has beautiful dahlia and perennials, but I am missing my signature snapdragons. I miss them so much. That's a total fail, but I'll let you head on over to the blog so you can read all about that. Thank you so much for joining me for Potager Week 10 and my end of July garden tour. Thank you for helping me celebrate my wins and celebrating my fails, because you know what? Failing is how you learn as a gardener. Gardening is always about next year, and you learn by getting it wrong the year before. So next year is going to be fabulous. If you'd like to see more still photography and read about my thoughts on this incredible space, visit ParisienneFarmgirl.com. Be sure to follow on Instagram, give the video a thumbs up, share if you care. I appreciate you being here. A bientôt.